Well, here we are, the episode where it all began, and even though I started watching the show halfway through season 1, I made it a point to watch everything in order, so this is also the first part of the show that I ever saw. The episode begins with a story about two royal sisters who control the sun and the moon. The sister who controls the moon feels unappreciated though because everyone sleeps at night, leaving her older sister to get all the admiration during the day. Eventually, her heart fills with bitterness and she becomes corrupted by an evil power, turning her into Nightmare Moon. She now plans to force everyone to appreciate her by making night last forever, and with no other choice, her older sister imprisons her in the moon using the elements of harmony. At this point, we still haven't seen how this world actually looks. We haven't seen any of the characters. Hell, the opening theme song hasn't even played yet, and already this feels like a living world with an established history, mythology, and social structure. And there's a villain connected to all of it, who is both threatening and sympathetic, who has a clear goal and a motivation for seeking that goal. I have to admit, right now, I'm impressed. We're introduced to Twilight Sparkle, and yes, I thought the same thing everyone does when they first hear that name. Twilight's busy researching the Mare and the Moon story. It ends by saying that Nightmare Moon will escape her imprisonment in 1,000 years, which is going to be roughly 2 days from now. Even though many consider the Mare and the Moon to be a fairy tale, Twilight wants to be prepared just in case it ends up being real. And with this kind of show, you just know that it will be. She sends a letter to her mentor, Princess Celestia, warning her and asking for advice. Celestia replies, telling Twilight to get her head out of those dusty old books. Remember that because I'm going to bring it up again later. Also, while we haven't officially seen Celestia yet outside of the title sequence, you can already guess that she's actually the older sister from the story, so it's a bit surprising that she would be so dismissive about this. She sends Twilight and her dragon assistant Spike to a town called Ponyville to help prepare for the Summer Sun celebration, and also tells Twilight to make some friends while she's there. Twilight might be bound by her job, but she says that making friends can wait until after she's done, you know, saving the world and shit. And right now, I'm on Twilight's side. I know making friends is important, and the show goes out of its way to make Twilight look antisocial, but in this particular situation, it would be like if you were facing Termina's fate from Majora's Mask, and suddenly the president told you that the world's only hope was for you to start fisting yourself while making origami flowers. Even if it turns out that doing a naked handstand and farting a rainbow of paper rose petals into the sky really did solve your problem, you would still be wondering if everyone's priorities weren't just a bit misplaced at that moment. Anyway, Twilight arrives in Ponyville and...
Thank you, sirs.
Wait, there are boy ponies? Here in the first episode? This isn't some all-female society that reproduces from a stork or something? And the boys and girls are treating each other respectfully. Holy crap, you really don't see that enough in these kinds of shows. But anyway, it turns out that Twilight doesn't have to worry about that friendship assignment because Ponyville has to be the friendliest place in the whole world. Unless you represent black people. Even if you're only in town for a day on official business, you'll still meet at least 5 complete strangers dead set on being her lifelong best friends. And here we meet the other main characters: Pinkie Pie, Applejack, Rainbow Dash, Rarity, and Fluttershy. Oh look, it's an animation glitch. I'm sure that won't be a big deal later. Unfortunately, Twilight runs out of time and Nightmare Moon shows up. Hi Cutie Mark Crusaders. Since Twilight's the only one who knows who she is, the others pretty much have to listen to her, which means now she finally gets to do her research. You know, instead of doing this before the shit hit the fan like she originally wanted to. It turns out that to stop Nightmare Moon, they need the elements of harmony from the story at the beginning, and they're located in the ruins of an ancient castle in the middle of the Everfree Forest. Now we're told that in this world the ponies actually control nature, and the Everfree Forest is considered dangerous because it's the one place where everything runs wild. Along the way, Nightmare Moon sets up obstacles representing trials for each of the elements, beginning by trying to straight up murder everyone by dropping them off a cliff. Here, Applejack reassures Twilight that she'll be okay, which is supposed to represent honesty, though others have pointed out that it has more to do with trust. If she'd been honest, she simply could have said Rainbow Dash and Fluttershy will catch you. Next, they face a rampaging Manticore, which is dealt with when Fluttershy demonstrates kindness and finds out that it was actually fighting because it was hurt. Then Nightmare Moon tries to scare them away, but Pinkie teaches everyone through a brilliantly self-aware musical segment to laugh at their fears. You know, that actually reminds me of this one time when I was younger. I tried that with my dad. He was so mad at me, but I just laughed and laughed. That did not end well. Then after that, they get a giant stereotype thrown at them. So what, we can't say anything about Rainbow Dash because it would be too obvious, but this guy gets a free pass? I'm not exaggerating. If you ask Lee Tokar, the actor who played the Sea Serpent, he knew exactly what kind of character this was. Let's just say that when Rarity uses part of her tail to fix his mustache, you know that's the only part of a girl that's ever been on his face. Oh, whatever. Rarity's generous, this time because she feels like it. Next, it's Rainbow Dash's turn. It's already been established that she wants to join an elite flight team called the Wonder Bolt. Thunderbolts, and here Nightmare Moon creates the illusion of another team called the Shadow Bolts, who claim to be even better than the Wonderbolts, and they want Rainbow Dash to abandon her friends and be their captain for no reason, because that makes sense, and even though she's never seen or heard of this group before, Rainbow believes them because she's a gullible idiot with an ego that would make Duke Nukem jealous. Still, she's a gullible idiot who chooses to be loyal to her friends. But finally they make it to the ruins and find the elements of harmony. Twilight tries to figure out what to do next, but Nightmare Moon shows up and teleports Twilight and the elements away, and the two of them face off until the elements are destroyed, making up for the fact that the villain already lived here 1,000 years ago and logically should have come here in the first place. The other main five catch up to Twilight, and now, after everything that's happened, she finally realizes how much the others mean to her and accepts them as her friends. This apparently reactivates the power in the shattered elements and reveals the final element: magic. Ugh. I'm sorry, but this never sat right with me. This is supposed to be a metaphor to teach kids about making friends, right? And the other elements, honesty, kindness, laughter, generosity, and loyalty, are all concepts that we can apply to everyday life. So why is the final one magic? Hell, heart would have made more sense. Friendship itself would have made more sense. The problem with magic is that it can literally be anything. You could say the final element is crotch tits and it would make just as much sense. How is anyone supposed to learn anything from saying, oh, it's just magic? Now, don't get me wrong, magic can be great as an element of fantasy, and it can make for some really exciting stories, but as a key component for a real-life concept like friendship, it kind of feels like a cop-out. Anyway, with the elements of harmony combined, Nightmare Moon is defeated. And by the way, some people have issues with the fact that the elements of harmony sent her to the moon instead of turning her back to normal right at the beginning, but honestly, except for Equestria Girls, we've never seen the elements do the same thing twice. Princess Celestia shows up and reveals that she knew this would happen all along, and Twilight calls her out on the letter from earlier. I told you we were getting back to that. Celestia explains that she told Twilight to make friends because that's how the elements of harmony work. Hold it! What exactly did that letter say again?
My dearest, most faithful student, Twilight, you know that I value your diligence and that I trust you completely. But you simply must stop reading those dusty old books.
Yeah, look. I get that you couldn't share any details because the friendship had to be genuine, but it definitely sounded like you were just blowing her off. Again, I'm siding with Twilight. It's no wonder she's been so frustrated this whole time. Now that the dust is settling, we see Nightmare Moon in her true form. And just like the opening suggested, she's actually Celestia's younger sister named Luna. Wow, she seems like a really important character. I mean, they're even giving her a big parade with the Star Wars Episode 1 music. I'm sure we're gonna see a lot more episodes with her in the future, right? Right? I'm sad now. And the episode ends with Celestia giving the setup for the show from this point on. Since Twilight doesn't want to leave after making the first friends she's ever had, Celestia lets her stay to see what else she can learn about friendship. The two-part pilot episode marks the only time that the series creator Lauren Faust would be given full writing credit, and sadly, a lot of fans like to jump on it for not being as good as the later episodes. Now, to be fair, it does suffer from a number of issues inherent to a pilot episode. A lot of ideas haven't been fully fleshed out yet, and there are a number of character traits that haven't been locked in, like Spike having trouble spelling, Rainbow Dash laughing for no reason, or Pinkie Pie constantly talking in hyper mode. And Lauren Faust herself even admits that there were problems assigning characters to the appropriate elements of harmony. For instance, Rarity was originally supposed to be the element of inspiration, which actually would have fit her personality a lot better in the long run, but Hasbro was concerned that inspiration would be too complicated for little kids to understand. Still, for all of its shortcomings, this is not a bad episode by any measure. In fact, at the time, it was strong enough that it completely shattered my preconceptions of what My Little Pony could be, and it introduced a lot of ideas that would be explored and expanded on throughout the series. For this reason, I'm not even going to give it my usual numbered score, and simply say that Friendship is Magic is required viewing for anyone thinking about getting into the show. It might not have made me an instant fan when I first saw it, but it clearly has a lot of care put into it, and it lays a solid, ambitious foundation that definitely pays off later.